always called. They want the jacket and their hair back. But I said, no, I'm
Oh.
feeling it.
Uh-huh. Because I almost put on a jacket and I said, nope, not going to do it.
Not gonna do it. Hello, Queen.
Hello, how are you? You look
I'm
beautiful.
good. Thank you.
Yes.
It's really interesting getting used to wearing my hair curly like I used to.
Uh-huh.
I've noticed that it triggers a lot of things in me.
Does it? Why?
Like, yeah,
Speaking of
because
hair. God.
I look like my mom, who I've had a tumultuous relationship right before she passed. I look
Uh-huh.
exactly like my mom with curly hair. I look a lot like my
Wow.
sister with curly hair.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
There are peripheral, like sometimes if I catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror, I'm like, that's my mom or my sister.
Ooh. Y'all,
Yay.
technical difficulties today here on the set of Life in the New Normal podcast.
And look at us just going with the flow.
Dude, yeah.
Mercury retrograde, we know you're coming, but we're ready.
Is it? Oh, for
At the
crying out
end of
loud.
the month, yeah.
Oh, fabulous. Oh, that's
Yay!
great. Yay. Chance to work on more things. On top of everything we're already working on. How exciting. Can't wait.
I'm so excited. You
Ah,
got to take all this stuff with a grain of salt because the fact of the matter is at the end of the day, shit happens to all of us, and it's not about what happens to us, it's how you deal with what happens to you.
uh-huh. Which
You know
brings
what I
us to
mean?
our topic today,
Oh, okay.
Dena, which
Do tell.
is essentially how to turn that ship around. And by that ship, I mean that negative ship, right?
Mm,
So it feels to me like the universe in 2020, a couple years ago, screamed at us big time, right?
mm,
Put us all in timeout. We were supposed to
mhm,
learn a bunch of lessons. We were supposed to how to
mhm,
live life differently, do things differently, appreciate differently.
mhm,
And now, I mean, and that was a horrific time, and that was a hard
mhm.
time, and I think everybody did learn some things, and I think we did go, oh my Lord, this is, wow, look how different our world can be in the blink of an eye, and we didn't even realize that could be a thing. Well, now here we are, 3 years later, and I think some people have gotten a little, all of us, a little bit more settled into life as we knew it. And I think now the
Life in the
universe
new
is
normal.
life in
Ha!
no life in the old normal. We're coming back to life
Yeah.
in the old normal and starting to get back into a different way of doing things the same way.
Yeah, but that's
I'm
not
headed.
working. Haven't you
Well,
seen?
that's my point. That's what I'm saying. So I feel like the universe now is starting to lean on us again and go, remember what the fuck you just learned? Were you paying attention? Because now I'm going to push you harder. That's what I'm
Here's a pop
feeling.
quiz, people.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling. Is that what you're is that what's happening? Cuz that's what I feel like
Totally.
is happening.
It it's what I'm feeling, and it's also, so let's just use the polarizing, unfortunately, things of like politics and shootings, right?
Yeah,
It's like, what more is it gonna fucking take to get off your fucking asses and do
exactly.
something instead about you being right, pointing the finger? These are fucking children,
Yeah.
right? We're all feeling this way. We're
Yeah.
all feeling like fuck. But with half of those people, I encourage, and I'm asking you, me, and everybody else, have you written to your congressman? Have you, again, done something instead of just feeding that negative fuel inside of you? Have you tried to do something positive to negate those feelings? So whether it's to go help those people, I'm not talking about giving money. We all have to start participating in helping one another, not just writing checks or accusing people or being pissed off. That does nothing.
Yeah.
Checks do a little things, don't get me wrong. But I'm meaning like, just because you write a check does not make you free from having to actually do the work.
Well, it's funny. I just had this conversation with a family member last week of like, please don't get into the habit of giving money to try to make a problem go away because
Mm-hmm.
I did that for years. When I was making a ton of money or whatever, I thought it was a ton of money. That was my easy way out of certain things. Here, let me just pay for this, and then
Of
you sort of
course.
control a situation or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And not that we don't need people to donate to things for sure, like you said, but you're right. So let me ask you then, how do we know which causes? Because right now, there are so many, it can be overwhelming. I mean, This past week in Charleston alone, I learned there was a freaking island here that's full of these little rhesus monkeys. This
Mhm.
is the breeding ground where they breed all of the monkeys that then get sold into laboratories for testing. And
No,
they
no,
had
no, no,
pictures of them.
no.
And what's worse, they used to be, I guess, self regulated by the company that owned the island and the breeding. There was no regulations around it at all for the safety of these poor little animals, which obviously don't give a fuck about them anyway if they're testing on them all the time. But now there's a new company that's come in to buy this, and it's like a 15 million billion dollar a year contract. I don't know, some massive amount of money, to keep this going on this island. So it's come up in the news, and I'm like, I mean, that's a tough thing too because people are like, well, how do we test for humans, without testing on animals? I don't believe in that. I believe you just test on humans, sadly.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah,
Is
so
it
there's that.
something that so I think what the question is what do
Oh,
you do when you feel frustrated and angry? And then how do you make an impact in a positive way or do something about it, even if
nope.
it seems, okay, tell
I
me.
wasn't done. Hold on. I'm
Oh,
sorry. I'll
sorry.
try to land the plane. Usually I'm telling you I'm going to land my
Okay.
plane now. So there's that. There's the freaking carriage horses in Charleston that also I
Oh,
feel very strongly about, working in 100-degree heat. Even anything above 80 is too much for them to be
mhm.
pulling 16, 18 people around in a load for hours a day. Like, I get tired just walking for, half an hour in the heat out here. It's like, are you kidding?
Mhm.
The shootings. I'm just saying that, like, all these things in the past, 6 months especially, it seems like everything's exacerbated, and all of our issues that we were supposed to be looking at and doing something differently about are exacerbated. So, how do you, yes, take action, and how do you know which issues to focus on? Because if we allow everything that pops up in our daily email, social media feed, friends asking for money for whatever, family leaning on you, um, different causes that other people are feeling that we need to, jump into and give. How do you know which ones are for you, and where do you start?
Well, what you start is start asking yourself some questions and do like your gut check, right? So let's just take the monkeys for instance. Let's go looking on the internet and see how much traction or how many people are speaking out for the voiceless, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if let's say there's already a website and PETA's on it or other people are on it, okay, fine. If there's not, then you start to figure out if you have what it takes in you to follow this, maybe to hand off, maybe to follow it through, maybe to just raise a conversation, maybe to go to the city, ask more questions. But what I would encourage you to do is look over everything, ask yourself what resonates most with you, because we want you, the only way that you're going to do something long term is if you're passionate about it,
Right.
right? And so if it's something that you like, and animals, of course, we're always,
Yeah.
I'm in love, I will fight for children too, you know what I'm saying? And so I feel like that is the most important. Then the reality check of it all is, the reality check is how much time do you have to be able to give to this. And so you do what you can. Maybe you have a resource that you could give the company randomly, let's say volunteering, editing some projects for them or
Mm-hmm.
something to get
Mm-hmm.
videos out. So but I recommend to anyone, start in your own community, start in your own backyard. Meaning, like when I invest in the children around me, this is my community, right? So whether I'm helping the two girls who are getting on a fitness plan, or today I went into the grocery store and it's taken 2 years, but the lady finally goes, hello beautiful, and I go, hello queen, and she started giggling
Freaking
and
lady
she's
at the
like,
grocery
and then
store.
she calls me queen, and it's just so cute to her. But it's taken patience and
Yeah.
time, but it's impacting my
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
community,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's not much you and I can do with other people far away and other things that are so big. Why don't you try taking on something smaller first before you take on the big things?
Right. Well, so regarding the carriage horses, because obviously I'm passionate.
Regarding the carriage horses, I'm big with that. So if I was you, I would see what you have to do. Oh, sorry.
I was going to
Go, tell me.
say, I already reached out to, there's a group that here that is trying to shut them down. And I already reached out to them and said, how can I help? I'm available. I'll volunteer. Oops, sorry. I'll volunteer. I'll tell me what you need. And she wrote back and said, well, for now, just give me your email address. So standing by on that.
It's
But
great.
it's a
And you
start.
tried.
It's a
See,
start.
it
I
is a start.
mean,
But see, that's listening to the universe
yeah,
from our last week's episode is that the universe is going, this is not your door.
right. Right.
Right. And so instead of going down the route of, so this is why I've learned to be able to feed into and give into my own community is when I lived in LA, there was always so many rules and regulations about where you could volunteer. They make it almost impossible for people to volunteer because you got to commit 20 hours a week. You've got to do all of these things. And it's just like, and I get it. They don't want flakes and they need people. But
They need
what about those of us
consistency.
who,
Yeah.
yeah, but what about those of us who find ourselves with a couple extra days or some hours at night that we
Yeah.
could do some things, for people? So that's where that's where it starts with our community. Like I have some friends that just moved into town and she's already at an animal shelter helping to clean out the cages and things like that. That's lovely. That's
Mm-hmm.
helping the community. What happens is I'm not saying we shouldn't watch news, we shouldn't do whatever, but I'm not, and I get that we hear it this last couple of weeks with the shootings and everything. It's literally like palpable, touchable, all of it, and people are finally getting really fucking scared
Yeah.
because
They
it's
should.
literally, for sure, shoulda, woulda, coulda, all that, got it, but we're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
So if someone comes at you, we're not going to go, well, you should have done it a long time ago. We're going to go,
Right.
I'm so glad you're finally here.
Right.
Right.
Thank
I'm
you.
so glad we're finally on the right track. So it's so important. So for you with your community or with, do they have any local gardens there?
Yeah.
Like where you can grow your own food and things like that?
I'm thinking
You
of
know how
LA.
you
You
do
know, you
shared
ever have those
gardens?
moments where you've lived in so many places and you're like, yeah, it's right down the street. Oh, no, it's not. That was in LA. Oh, wait,
Yeah.
that was in London.
Like
I have
look
no
for
idea.
one of those and cultivate a community, and maybe you can start growing some fruits and vegetables for some people who might live in a food desert who don't have access to those fruits or vegetables. Maybe teach a planting class, and not that you know it, but I'm just saying anyone who's a gardener, we all have
Mm-hmm.
something we could teach somebody
Right.
who is less fortunate and don't have access to lessons, and we could give for free.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So I
Yes.
just think it's so important when everything is wrong with the world, we have to start saying, what can we do right with it? And what we can do right with it is we can start helping other people, helping our neighbor, doing other things. People don't talk to each other as much as they used to. And I think talking to each other more and that's why I like taking my dogs everywhere. It's a great topic of conversation. You know what I mean? And so I just think it's so important for us to do something instead of nothing. And then people go, well, I don't have any money. Well, da 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 da. Well, you don't need money. You can offer
Right.
maybe a service
Yeah.
that you could provide.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally. And I think it's important too, as you're watching all this stuff going on, to emotionally not take it all on. And of course, we're going to have our moments, but if we spiritually believe that, the change in the world that's happening right now is on an energetic level first, right? That we have
Mm-hmm.
to shift all of that negativity. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's difficult to filter through that stuff and go, that's okay. I recognize that that's a horrible situation. That's not mine to take on. But this is like saying no to some of these. Sometimes the guilt that comes with it is what I'm saying is how do you start with where you are with what you have, do what you can. Sounds good in theory, but it's tough to practice when
Well,
horrible things come
yeah,
up and you're
because
like, I feel helpless over some things.
yeah, of course. And you have to reconcile with yourself that you're not God, the universe, whatever. So you can't fix everything and everyone.
Yeah.
Right. So allow yourself a good cry, allow yourself to get angry,
Mm-hmm.
allow yourself, but then go, Now what?
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to do towards that? So listen, call up a volunteer group and tell people you can make phone calls. Like if you're somebody who doesn't have a lot of resources or whatever and can't give a lot of time, if people need to call congressmen or whatever, like write letters, offer to do
That's smart.
anything,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But what I'm saying is being angry, if I'm sitting on this side of the world, right, for all the stuff that's happening in the States, how is that helping me right now unless I take an action
Right.
towards doing something about being angry? Because what a lot of us will do is we will keep taking negative, 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 negative. We have no resolution. And now we're just filled with fucking negativity. And then we feel like it's so heavy that there is no way out. Then people start to give up. They don't have hope. They're like, why should I bother? It's not going to make a difference. Right. And so that's why it's so important when you fall down, when you feel frustrated, when you feel hurt, when you're scared shitless, when it's insanity,
Mm-hmm.
you allow yourself some time, some grace, and then you start putting things in perspective. Again, me with my list. I love making lists. Where can you help? What could you do? What would make a difference? Could you make a video? Are you somebody who is so passionate that you want to speak out about it? Put it on your own social media. We all are waiting for other people to do the jobs that we're so afraid to do. Oh, well, I'm not like that. I'm not a public speaker. Why? Well, if you're this pissed off, start being that. If you're this afraid, start letting people know. Stop making fun of people on social media who cry and do other things. At least they're trying.
Mm-hmm.
At
Mm-hmm.
least they're putting a voice out there.
Yeah.
At least they're having these kids' names be heard. At least they're whether it's positive or negative, they're doing something. What are you doing?
Right, right.
And so it's not a matter of like, oh, you need to do blah, blah, blah. Meaning if you're somebody and it's bothering me, okay, what if you wrote beautiful letters to the families who lost their children?
Uh,
What if you sent beautiful artwork? What if you told them how precious their children were and how sorry you were,
mm,
right? There are many things that we can do to comfort people who are going through the shit. Yes, we can say it shouldn't keep happening, but it's happened. How are we going to help these people that it's happening to right now?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's a
And
good
so
point.
what I say for you is, yeah, well, and what I say for everyone is there's always something you can do. There is always a kind gesture.
Yes, but I think a lot of people are like, well, a kind gesture is absolutely necessary and wonderful, and you're right, contributes to the energy of changing things. But what about actually making real change? I mean, I feel like writing a letter to a
Well, no,
congressman doesn't mean shit right now because they're not listening. I mean, obviously, the people in power
I
don't give a shit about what we think.
see, but do you see how you just fell into the trap?
I do. That's why I'm
I know,
asking,
and I
like,
get
how
it, and
how
that's
do
why I'm
we? So we just
well.
keep
If
pushing
you
forward
think,
and keep seeing
well,
something
no,
different, or
but if your narrative says, well, what's the point? There's no use, and everyone else is thinking the same thing, you're absolutely right. It is no use. But if all of a sudden, maybe 10,000 people were writing before, if 5 million people write, yeah, there's going to make a difference. But it has to start with one.
yeah,
So you're putting a narrative to something under the assumption of what you've seen over the
that's
years.
true.
But we don't know what's been going on behind closed doors and whatever. We're
It's
just going
true.
on assumption because we're so
Yeah,
frustrated
yeah,
with the
right.
circumstances and the way things are that we lose sight because then they win. If we go, oh, you know what? Forget it. It's not worth it because they're not listening anymore. That's what they want us to
That's
do.
true. That's true. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So the positive, and I get it. It's listen, and I don't want everyone to think, oh, Dena's get an answer. She's so happy. I'm in so much freaking pain today. I can't even begin to explain it. Right? So back pain, but I used to allow that to stop anything good from happening in
Mm,
my life.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Now I have to push through it because if I don't push through it and make a change, I'm the only one that's going to make positive things happen for myself.
Yeah.
And I sat and watched how I let myself lose so many years of my life to these illnesses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. But it wasn't until I took that negative narrative and all the gaslighting and all the shit and I dumped it. And I said, okay, you know what? I tried this. It didn't work. So now we're going to do it my way. And my way means we're doing A, B, C, and D, meaning yoga, 75 medium challenge. We're doing positive thinking. We're not drinking alcohol. We're vegan. Yeah, another autoimmune popped up. Who knows why, what, whatever. Universe is saying something. I don't know. But does that mean I'm stopping my positivity? No, it just means I haven't given it enough of a chance to show me that it's going to keep working out for me, right? But we all give in too soon. We give up too soon on ourselves because we think it's supposed to have immediate, results. And if it doesn't, and that's where there are so many blessed people out there who have been doing the fight and who have been trying for gun reform and who
Yes.
have been doing all of these things and they're fucking exhausted, right?
Yes.
So what if we go and we make those people food? We bring them beverages. It's helping. So
I
it
love
may
that.
not be in the way that you think, meaning you want it to make an impact. But what if sometimes you and I aren't in a position to be the people of impact in this particular situation? So then, therefore, we're going to help build the people of impact up,
Yes.
right? And so that's what's important is we know our place and when. And so like for you, I would imagine also the horses is a very big thing for you
Yeah.
because you love
Yep.
horses, right? And so I think that is so important, and you'll follow up with that girl, but that's not the only horse place that
Yep.
you could volunteer or do whatever at, right?
Yeah.
So it's literally, do you see how we try, then they reject us, and then we're like, well, I tried. No, we
Oh,
tried
I ain't
one
done.
time.
I ain't done.
No, I'm not saying you are. I'm talking
Oh.
about everyone else. Do you know what
Yeah,
I
all
mean?
y'all.
And
I'm just
so
kidding.
all y'all out there. So I'm
Just
just
kidding.
saying it is. And listen, I've been guilty of that before too.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is that that got me nowhere fast. That got me sicker, more depressed, heavier, around friendships that I wasn't sure about. Even if I remain positive, yes, I do have down days. They don't last as long. They're not as deep as they once were. I don't fall into the depressions like I used to. I know how to get myself out of them, right? But if you're somebody new into positive, negative, positive reinforcement, instead of saying what's wrong with things, you say what's right with things. Start with literally self-interrupting, and when you start hearing yourself going down a negative route, course correct and be like, you know what, tell me something that you like about this instead of that you don't like, right? And you'll see their disposition shifts, and they start to like feel different. Or I'll ask people, like sometimes they'll say, since we've been speaking, I've heard everything you don't like about your husband. Why don't you tell me what you like about him? And then they'll go, well, really, he really is such a good dad, or he really is. And then they really think about it and they get very protective, and then they'll go, well, I didn't mean that before. What I meant was, do you see? So it's the culmination of the pile up, is that what we're feeling of everything going on. So it's like COVID being, I don't think anyone's even really, we've all been taught how to deal with being locked up for so long. And I think a lot of people are having psychological issues of re-entering,
Mm-hmm.
society, because a lot of us who can be antisocial will isolate even more because it's so comfortable. Right. And then we've been given permission. Right. And then it's just like, what do you mean I don't have to go out? Like, please bring lockdown back. Right. But the
Yeah.
fact is that a lot of us, sometimes for me socially, I'm like, fuck, sometimes I forget like the inappropriateness or not inappropriate. You know what I mean? So I just think we need to start allowing each other more grace
Yeah.
and understanding and
Well,
kindness. But do you see how when I change the energy, you become all soft too, and you're like, yeah. It's contagious. No,
Yes.
but I mean, it is a contagious vibration. So you're going to mirror what I'm mirroring. If I'm up here and I'm like, you suck, if you, blah, 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 blah. Not a lot of people have the skill to remain here. A lot of people will go here, but
Yeah.
once you're both here, there's no place to go but down.
Right.
And that's not good.
Right. Well, thank you for bringing it all back around to physical health too, because we just had an episode on this earlier this month or last month, but how that, the emotional pain will physically manifest. And I believe that. I've seen it. I've had that happen before. So again, so it is a mindset, really. It is a mindset of working, practicing your gratitude, staying positive, taking what little steps you can. Meditating. Yeah. Oh my God, meditating.
Podcasts, books.
Yeah.
Literally in between my hours, I consume information
me too.
like it's my job, meaning that I consume information that I know is going to make me healthier, happier, and it's going to build in my toolbox.
Me too.
We're
the same in that way. Yeah.
Rarely listen to music a ton because sometimes it's too loud and I just like to get really lost in deep, meaningful conversation, right? And so that's the gift that I give myself but always in the background, I have either our podcast on or other podcasts. No, but on YouTube, I don't have the news on in the back. I don't have any of that on the back. I think I've said this before. The most important thing you can do in the morning is have some morning mantras. We can list Gabby Bernstein's, my body is rested, my mind is clear, my day unfolds with ease and grace. Like there's so many great little tips and tricks that you can do to shift things throughout the day that I think is so important. If people are like, oh, I don't have time for that. Listen, if you drive to work, you have time to listen to. Exactly. Yeah. And if you don't want to read them, have your phone speak it out loud.
Right.
Like there's always something. So I'm still studying for the driving test. And now what it's down to is every morning what I've decided, I have to on YouTube watch that test 5 times, but now I just watch the same test over and over until I get all those answers right. And then the next day I'll move to a different test. I turn that negative into a positive. Now I'm excited about finally learning it. And I was like, oh, I finally got a rhythm.
Good.
Right?
That's awesome.
And yeah, but instead of going, it's been 2.5 years and you're still studying and you're such an idiot and oh my God, because so many people will go, you're still studying that, instead of going, good for you for not giving up. Good for you for, but the fact is yeah, I could sit there and go, well, I have dyslexia and I'm neurodivergent and I'm this and I'm that. No, I'm just studying. And the fact is that I'm being kind to myself in the process. And I keep visualizing myself when I finally get it and doing the dance and going around the DMV and doing all of that stuff, right? Because all that creepy stuff does sneak in on those days where I'm feeling like crap.
Yes.
Of like, look, and now you're still studying this damn driver's test. What the fuck is wrong with you? And then if somebody else who used to get as many wrong as I did is now getting less wrong, I'm like, then I compare myself next to her. And then I'm like, oh my God, I've asked you to study 1 million times and you wouldn't study with me. And now you're doing better than me. Blah, 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 blah. And that's all my insecurity.
I feel like I got you all worked up now.
No, you don't, but I have to learn to. I think you did actually. And I'm all like, woo,
I see it.
But
sorry.
Something took over. But yeah, you know what? You know what I'm sick of, Ashley?
I'll tell
you what I'm sick of.
Tell me.
I'm sick of a bunch of fucking negative people who don't get off their asses to help themselves or the people around them. Literally poo-pooing on those of us who are trying to help ourselves and help our community.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm doing the best I can under my circumstances. So if I can't get out there and help the world because of my physical stuff or that I'm too busy or then I'm doing what I can under my circumstances. So before you judge me, why don't you ask me? And why don't you, instead of looking at people and assuming they're not doing what you think they should be doing from your filter of like, where someone will say, well, you're not busy, you work at home. Like, what could you possibly be doing? Well, it's like, dude, do you know that how many medications I take a day, how slow I have to move, how it's only me, and sometimes I can't lift things or do things, or do you want me to add that to every time I have a conversation with
Right.
you? No, I'm saving you and me, and I'm showing up as my best self as I can for each day because I keep trying and I'm showing up and I'm here. So is that ever going to be enough? Well, if you know me and you're my friend, of course, but can't we give, and I'm not talking the people who are just outright dicks. I'm talking about people
Don't be
that
a
we
dick.
know, that we've seen them long enough, but in the sense is that we know them well enough to know that that's not who they are as a person and they must be having an off
Yeah.
day or they must be going through a
We
hard
all
time.
have them.
Why can't right and why can't we give that kind of grace to people?
Yeah.
Why can't we be like, oh, she's a little off today, like, are you okay? Like, not saying you're a little off, but like, how are you feeling today? You good? Like, you know what I mean? I think it's really, really, I have a friend, the new friends are in town. I met one yesterday to get her eyebrows done, and she's like, I want to take you to lunch after. And I go, thank you so much. And I go, but I have other things to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, but you don't have to take me to lunch. It was my pleasure to come meet you.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lovely exchange. But it's so nice for somebody to offer when you do something kind, but it doesn't, you don't always have to repay it. And
Exactly.
but did I want to go? Absolutely. I liked the company. I loved the eyebrow girl because it was my girl, and I loved spending time with her. So if that's how I can get out and spend time and support you, then great. That was help for you. You didn't speak the language. You didn't. So what, unless it's super big and impactful, we shouldn't be doing all of these good deeds? They all build up after a while. You don't know what somebody's going through. You don't know how hard they could have used that help. A lot of people don't like asking for help. And so
Exactly.
when
And I
they
see a
do,
lot of people
assume.
on Facebook, on Nextdoor, the Nextdoor app, about the little neighborhood communities. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen some people volunteering to like, hey, I have a lot of spare time on my hands on these days, and if any elderly folks need a ride to a doctor's appointment or whatever, like I think that's so lovely. It's so beautiful when I see those little things pop up. Um,
I love that.
yeah.
And one of my friends, her neighbor said, she's older, and she said, because my friend, her car, it doesn't work. And so the neighbor said, let me take you to and from work. It will help me get out of my
Mm-hmm,
house.
mm-hmm,
Right. And so it's so interesting because the universe solved the problem. Right. But then she feels too guilty to accept it.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it's just like, wait, so the universe had your back. It sent you away to get to and from work for now. And the lady even told you it would help her get out of the house. But because you feel guilty or whatever stuff, you're not going to accept it.
And that piggybacks on our last episode, right? Of listening to the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and grace also. I'm glad you brought up grace because it's such an important thing that I recognize. When we get in these headlocks with our emotions and feelings with people, and when one person offers grace, all of a sudden everything just goes,
Dissipates. It
you
just feels like
know?
that.
I had someone that gave it to me a few weeks ago when we were sort of going back and forth, and she just said, it's okay. I know that, we're both okay, and blah, 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 blah. And I just kind of went, oh, okay. Yeah, now we can really talk about what's going on.
And
So
that's
it's a
what
beautiful
grace
thing.
feels like.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a
And you
gift.
were able, yeah, and you were able to receive it,
Yeah.
right? Because you weren't gaslighting yourself probably in that moment and you actually heard it.
Well, and I recognize it as the opportunity to stop and work through things too. So when someone hands you that gift, take it. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
But
for sure. And so yesterday, or a couple, I don't know, it was a couple, maybe it was yesterday, it was a couple days or weeks ago, I went to a dinner and my ex was there. And as I was sitting there at the table in that beautiful space of looking around and loving his family and everything, I said to myself, I am so fucking happy that I don't have to be in this anymore. I didn't say anything negative about him or anything in my head, right? I was like, he's still struggling so much that
mm-hmm.
he hasn't found peace yet,
So
right?
let's talk
And
about that. Like when you get into, I'm going to turn the ship a little bit.
mhm.
When you get into a negative situation like that, or I do, How do we mentally, when we're hearing this negativity, when we're hearing things, what thought process goes through your brain, like you're starting to say, this is the
Mm-hmm.
shift, right? So let's talk about that. What do you actively do to
So
shift yourself out of that and not just
here's
stop
the
thinking
shifting.
about it, but redirect to like real positivity that you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
maintain?
it's the course correct. So I had the dogs in my lap, right, and I'm looking around the table, and I felt that moment where, you know, when your chin starts to like tremble, and you're so,
Aw.
because I saw his mom too look at me, and she was like, I'm staying out of this,
Uh-huh. It's
because her and
hurtful.
I didn't even have our same fun interaction, because he just would not stop picking,
Mm-hmm.
right? So in that moment I go, Dena, in my
Mm-hmm.
head, I go, Dena,
Dear
this is
Dena.
not a surprise. This is not a surprise. This is nothing new.
Right.
He's not doing anything different than he's always done. It's just the bad timing. And you are allowed to go at any time. Like, you are free to
Oh, I
go.
gotta pee.
So, well, I did go have to pee. And then as I came down, I go, oh shit, I forgot. I didn't bring the dog's medicine. And so I left in the middle of lunch,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't disrespectful. Everyone understood. I didn't confront him. I didn't take it personal. I said, well, that was a bummer. I
Yeah.
hope he feels better when he goes home. But then I just came home, got on the phone with my cousin. We had a lovely conversation. I didn't even talk about the lunch because it wasn't even worth repeating. Now, old Dena would have texted him later and been like, why were you such an asshole? You ruined lunch for me, or blah, 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 blah. He's not going to make me happy. He couldn't make me happy when we were married. So, meaning you or someone else or any other situation, remember, you are free to go. You are not trapped there. You don't have to engage in these conversations. But what you do have to do is you do have to give yourself grace, yourself kindness, and talk to yourself in a way that you keep expecting everybody else to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? Is
I
like,
do.
we get mad that people get a tone with us, but we get that same tone with ourselves.
Yeah. And back to
We
them.
go
I
like, what
mean,
the fuck is your
I
problem?
mean, we just went through a
Huh?
couple episodes and we'll give the tone back to them sometimes. Well, not you. I'm speaking for myself. I mean, we just went through this
I
couple
do
of
too.
episodes where,
No,
you know,
listen, I do it too.
I gave it back and then of course I felt like shit. So I'm hoping I've learned my lesson that those people aren't going to do the work, or if they are, they ain't doing it right now. Nothing's going to change. You know, it's up to me and it's up to you to course
Mm-hmm.
correct in our minds, right? And bring ourselves out of that. And it's easier said
So
than
then,
done.
I didn't mean to cut you off. So let me give you a different scenario of people who are going, well, what if I don't have the luxury of leaving
Right.
and I have to live with these
Right.
people?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So what you have to do is you have to start learning to keep your mouth shut. And I know that that sounds harsh and not nice, but until we get perspective of what it is we keep fighting back to, or
Mm-hmm.
why, I want you to ask yourself, is it about being right? Is it about being happy? Are you trying to prove your point? Are you trying to justify why you did what you did so they think less of you? What I'm saying to you is go like this. Well, okay, this person yells at me all the time. Nothing's different. Go, I hear you. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do better next time.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't, whatever, if you just want to shut it down,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And not in a passive aggressive way, right? But then in your head, you have to start to talk to yourself with a dialogue, meaning, I've had this conversation so many times. It's never been different. What makes this night any different? You need to pull back. You need to literally call off the dogs, call off the guards, call off the whatever it is. Protect your peace at any
Mm-hmm.
cost. Meaning, the only way you're going to get peace is to keep your mouth shut, because people who want you to engage in
Mm-hmm.
a fight or anything are going to bait you constantly.
Mm-hmm.
They're constantly going to bait you.
Yeah.
And all they're looking for so that they can have confirmation bias of, see, that's why I say what I say. That's why I do what I do, because you do that. They're just waiting for you so that they can justify their bad behavior.
Right.
So then you're like, well, that doesn't work for me either. So then what I've realized, I've been having these conversations before I pick up the phone to call certain people.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realize I don't wind up calling those people
Mm-hmm.
because it's going to be the same conversations. I
Right.
will go back in my head of going, okay, why are you calling them? Oh, you think they're going to give you support? Okay. And it's not gaslighting. So the last conversation you had, how did that go for you? Okay. Did they give you support? Okay. What about the conversation?
Right.
And then you start to look back at your history and go, maybe that's not the best person to call right
Mm-hmm.
now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should go in a different direction. I think it's also important, and it's very important to, if we're arguing with someone, going, can we take a break for 5 minutes? I'm getting a little over emotional and I don't want to say things that I regret, or I just need an emotional break.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really
Well,
important to start learning up without tone to speak up for your right in an argument or a conversation, or if you're not ready, I wasn't prepared to have this talk right now. Could we, put it on pause until later on tonight? There's so many different ways. It depends on how your person receives things and their language. Say it to them in a way that they're going to understand,
yeah,
not in a new terminology.
and I think what you said just a minute ago also is very important. Of don't pick up the phone in those moments. Don't go call a friend and meh, 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 perpetuate that energy. Get fired up more, because I used to do that. That was like a nightly habit of like whatever shit from the day, like blah, 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 and because you think you're working through it, but now I can see that all I was doing was perpetuating that energy, and it's much more productive for me to go sit by myself or go for a walk by myself, something by myself, go
Uh-huh.
inside, breathe, listen to a podcast, read a book, whatever. Or if you're lucky enough to have someone that you can reach out to that truly
Mm-hmm.
is going to look at you without judgment and say, well, what was your part in this and how can you, because this is the only thing that we can control is our part in it, right? So
The only
it's the
thing.
only thing we have control over, and this whole, I mean, I'm super guilty of in the past having dated people hoping that they would change. You see all the potential in someone and you're like, I just know that, if I can just get in there and tweak this a little bit. No. So
And then, even to your
negative.
point, to go off of your point just now,
Uh-huh.
is that we are all guilty of, even if we see a tiny bit of change,
Yeah.
we will erase everything for that person and be like, see, I knew they would come around. It's like, well, let them be consistent. Let them show up more than once.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm
Yeah, yeah,
saying?
yeah,
So it
totally.
doesn't just stop there.
Right.
It then has to, so the work really never ends,
That's
really, if
what
you
I
think
have
about
come to
it. Like,
realize, Dena.
well, it's just like you
Ugh.
think graduation's coming, but they're
Yeah.
like, no, you need more
Oh
credits.
my
You're not
God.
graduating just yet.
Yeah.
And so it's a pretty, but once
But
you're
that's
in
what
it,
makes
it's
life
pretty
interesting
powerful.
too. Yes, it's like you get this craving to have that bigger knowledge, that greater good come in, whatever you want to call it. I don't know, but it's pretty cool.
Well, and there's no going back,
There's no
right?
going back.
Because
Like you say,
once
you
you
can't
know
unring
better,
that
you do
bell.
better.
Yeah.
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 You know better, you do better. And on top of that, you know what I've been doing lately too, which I think is so different for me. I don't have anyone that I call like all the time to like check in and talk about the days and the
I
stories. And
don't either.
I talk to one particular friend that I do sometimes, but some stories for me aren't even worth repeating
Agreed.
because I don't want other people's opinions on
Yep.
them. And then there are some stuff that I know that same person isn't going to get the same joy. And not that person I was talking about, but just in general, if you're talking to people, if you know somebody is going to then take your joy and then turn it into a negative, why are you telling them that? You will.
Exactly.
It's like, let's
Yes.
say, for
Which is
instance,
the flip
when
side
I
of
get a
some of this.
beautiful so I get a beautiful chandelier for my bedroom. The first thing my mother-in-law had said, and it never occurred to me,
Uh-huh.
was, who's going to clean it? And I go, what?
That's something my mother would say.
Well, it never occurred to me to think like that.
Right. And
So
you're like,
now every time I look at it,
yeah.
that's all I think about.
Damn it.
Well, first of all, how does one
I
clean
don't
that
know.
thing?
I don't know.
But do you see how instead of in her mentality,
Yeah.
because she was a housewife for so long without the luxuries of
Yeah.
dishwasher, wash, like all those kinds of things, the first thing she sees is more work.
Right. Well, I've stopped talking to certain people and sharing my joy with certain people too, which is sad on one hand, but I've learned my lesson that there's certain people that'll squash it like a bug, and then that for affects me and how I
Yeah.
move forward with it. So I hear you.
And it doesn't mean that those are your wrong people. It just means that
Well,
you have different things in common with some of those people,
you told
and
me
they
a long
fill a
time ago.
certain part.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you told me a long time ago that there are certain people that you celebrate with, and there are certain
Mm-hmm.
people that you just don't. And you have to find those people in your life that celebrate the good things for you. And
Mm-hmm.
thank you for that. Yeah, because years ago I
You're
recognized that, and I
welcome.
was like, oh shit, you're right. Just because I love this person or we talk about these things, no, they get kind of jealous or they get kind of weird when I tell them this, or they you know, don't believe that I
Or
maybe deserve it or can do it or whatever it is, and they just,
I'm
there's
used to, I'm
pushback.
going to tell you, I'm getting so hot. I'm kidding. I'm used I'm used to these kinds of people. They don't believe in you at first,
Hmm.
but then when you accomplish it, they go, I knew you could do it. Really? Because where were you from day
Right.
one?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that for
Or they'll
me is
say, or
worse.
they'll, yeah, something to that effect. Yes, I have those
Hmm.
people too. Trust me. They're like,
And
well,
it's
I told
it's
you if you blah blah blah, then this would happen, and I'm like, no, really? Nope, nope, don't
and
think you did.
before I was so adamant of like, no, you didn't. Blah, blah, and now I'm like,
I can't
not
even.
even worth it.
Yeah, I can't
Not
even.
even. And so I
Protect your
find
peace.
myself, well, and I'm protecting my peace, but I find myself keeping my mouth shut so often. I'm like, did I forget how to talk? But no, I'm finally learning who deserves some of
There you
this,
go.
who deserves access to
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
because I was giving it away like I had extra and then some, and
Mm-hmm.
all I would do was give, 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 and not refuel, refuel, refuel.
Right.
And so now what I'm learning is just because you're positive and just because you want to help, it doesn't mean you save the world. It means you do what you can with the resources that you have. And yes, sometimes you do go out of your way and sometimes you will take from your own pocket, but it's for the cause that you're so inspired by, right? But then I realized that even if my life is more quiet and peaceful, I'm still contributing to the collective because I'm not sitting here in angst and stress.
Agreed. 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 So, do what you can with where you are, with what you have. Start with where you are. And don't let it be something that depletes you, right? Give to the point
Mm-hmm.
that it feels good. And when it starts feeling not
Mm-hmm.
good, pull back. Take care of yourself, is what I've learned and
Mm-hmm.
what I'm still
Well, and
learning.
I've tried. I said something to a friend a couple of weeks ago, and I said, listen, I see that you're going through a really hard time. And I said, but it's been a couple weeks now. And when you go through a hard time, I go through a hard time. And then I take that on with you. And I said, and I get that you're learning about positive, negative, whatever, but you can't give me everything negative and then go, but I'm thinking positive, and then that washes away everything. It absolves it all.
Yeah.
Now you've literally dumped that
Right.
toxic waste onto me when I've said more than once, and you've dumped it onto me. And you're still not getting the point. I'm not saying that you need to do what I say, but if I'm telling you that I cannot receive it, stop dumping it on me.
Oh, I've not let go of friendships, but I've pulled back severely from friendships who the people keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. And no matter how many times we talk about it, and they know, it's toxic, they keep going. And it's like,
Well, and it's
and then you take
because
it
our
on.
history.
Well, yeah,
Uh-huh.
and I was there for years, so I say this without judgment, but I'm also saying that I understand what you're saying because emotionally it's too much for me to take on, for you to
It's
take
way
on. It's
too
like if we've had
much.
the same conversation 20 times and you're still doing it the same way, I then have to take care of me and protect my peace and back away. And I'm so
And
sorry.
then it's like, then you seem like the asshole for
Yeah.
wanting to protect your peace. But
Yep.
it's like, dude, I love you. We've been through
Yes.
this for weeks and 10 times. And, and
And I
we're
do
all
still love
guilty of it.
them. so
For
much,
sure.
and hope that
We
they do it differently.
Absolutely. But look, when I was in my 20s, I talked about boys nonstop, the same boys of, do you think he's cheating? Do you think he's... And then when it comes down to all of it, none of that ever really was true of what was going on in our heads. Right. And so
It's
then you
stressful. It's
feel
so
it.
stressful.
So, and imagine what it puts your body through.
Exactly. Oh yeah, exactly. And then all I wanted to do was drink. It's like I have these stressful conversations every night and then drink. It's like, well,
But then I'm thinking,
vicious
why
cycle.
do I call to check up with people and ask about their days? And then, so why is that about? And then people, of course, they want to share the negative, right? But
Right.
then some days I'm like, am I in a position to be able to be a good friend to somebody, to sit in that space and hold that space with them and not try to get out of the gook?
Right.
No, tonight I'm not.
Right.
Maybe tomorrow I will be,
Right.
but it doesn't mean I'm not able to be there for friends and I'm not able to sit with you and stuff. But just means if I'm growing and moving, I can't keep coming back to this vibration and then try to go up to this vibration. It doesn't work. So I can't dim my light because you're afraid to come into the light.
Yeah. Good way to put it.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because it is scary.
Yep.
And so there's that poem Dr. Schaffer told me. It was like,
Oh, the
when
roomie.
the time
Oh.
came when to remain tight in a bud was more painful than to bloom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I
You'll
think that's
eventually get
where,
there, hopefully.
yeah, that's where I'm at, where I'm in so much pain being tight in this bud that all of my nerves and everything, I think that has literally caused a lot of this pain and things
For
of
sure.
being on high alert, trauma response, attachment,
Yep.
whatever, detachment, protective, all of the stuff. And then all the ailments and all. And then I learned to like relax in my body and just be here. And then the phone rings and the sphincter gets tight, right? But
Yeah.
now I'm learning to go, oh, yeah, I could bypass that. And it's not anything disrespectful to anybody else other than I am not in the space right now to be able to support you. That's all that could mean for that moment.
Right. Right. And that's probably doubly challenging for you doing what you do for a living, too.
Oh,
It's like, how do you work through that
especially for the
sometimes?
same people who come back year after year
Yeah.
after year and are doing the same thing and are in shock
Right.
that things are. And I've had many talks with my therapist about this because I say, well, why should I take their money if they're not doing anything? And it would make me feel bad,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, well, are they not getting anything out? And they're like, well, Dena, he said, they're going to need someone to talk
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
They're getting
better
something
you
out of
than...
it.
For sure. But for me,
Ooh, this is a
my ego was,
perfect example though, see, of you wanting to do something and feeling helpless, and then you do what
mm-hmm,
you can.
mm-hmm,
Because it
totally.
might not be your, I mean, I'm sorry, I'll let you answer that.
No, but do you see how getting different perspective helps you?
Uh-huh.
I never looked at it as a way of she's going to pay someone.
Yeah.
So she may as well pay to talk to you
Yeah.
because she feels safe with you.
Right.
So maybe she's not ready to do it. But until she is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I look at things now in a different perspective instead of taking it on so personally
That's good.
and taking on like it's always my job to make my family happy or to love each other or to make friends want to feel like they're important or to make these little young girls want what. None of it's my job because at the end of the day, I don't have any say in it anyway.
Right.
They're going to do what they want to do no matter what. Just
Exactly.
like I'm going to do what I want to do no matter what.
Yep. 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 Exactly. I'm my job. You're your job. Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
And
So.
we were never told and we were never allowed to spend this much time on self-care.
Damn right. And that is, I mean, why it's so hugely important that we're having these conversations, I think, because are you kidding? I would have been told, and I'm still told, that I'm selfish for doing a lot of the things
totally.
that I do to take care of myself and take the time, and that I'm irresponsible and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, you can
And
tell
you're
me
like,
that all
okay,
you
but if
want,
I'm
but
selfish,
I feel
wait,
better.
I'm selfish. Who's going to do it for me?
That's right.
Who's going to do it for me?
Yeah,
I
nobody.
don't have a spouse.
Nobody.
I don't have certain people to take care of me. I don't have kids. So if I don't take care of me, everything else falls.
Right.
And so it's always funny. people compare pain. Why the fuck are you comparing pain? I had a friend say to me the other day, oh, if I fall, everything falls, then my kids, then this, that. And it's like, okay, I get that. But if I fall, I got nothing.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
so it's like, I don't want to get
understand.
into a comparing thing, but people feel like they have to justify their pain instead of your pain just being enough. But because other people are like, well, I've gone to work with a flu or COVID, forget a cold, don't be a wimp. But your cold might be different than my cold. My body doesn't handle it in the right
Right.
way. So why don't we start showing up for friends going, that sucks. I'm really sorry. Like, I'm sorry you're having a shitty time.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I agree. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we are at our time. So
Okay,
anything else? Any
clean.
final
Yes,
thoughts?
the
Any subtle
and
change,
the
profound impacts?
subtle change, profound impact would be like, subscribe, and follow. The subtle change,
That would
profound
be
impact
helpful.
really is to, of course, instead of saying what's wrong with things, start training yourself to say what's right with things.
Yeah.
That is the easiest, cheapest way you can start shifting. And remember that you don't have to be the same as everybody else, and everyone doesn't have to be the same as you. And stop justifying why you can't do something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a place to start. I think one of those two to start
Yeah.
with is great. If you can do both, that's even more fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
And I would love for you to come back in the comments and tell us if these little subtle shifts are helping and they are getting you to see things in a different perspective and they are adding light into your life, or it is, teaching kids it's okay to say what was wrong about something, but then let's find the light in it.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different ways, like brain teasers, we can do for ourselves. And, instead of consuming negative, like for me, unfortunately, even now, I can't even consume stories that have intense storylines on shows because I feel
Same.
it all too emotional.
Especially with guns and
And
stuff right now. I can't watch any of that
well,
stuff.
and even like all of that emotional, I have enough of that stuff on my own. Like
Yeah.
I don't,
Yep.
so I really just need mindless TV. But then when I was going to mindless TV, I was like, why am I wasting my
Yeah, I need
energy on
positive,
this?
not mindless. I need positive.
Yeah, no, but now what I was getting to is now the only as I
Yeah.
consume YouTube and OWN and like all of those great
Yeah,
channels,
right.
because for me that is what I deserve, to feed myself with clean, not just clean eating, but consumption.
It's all feeding. Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Yeah. And to your point, just to circle back for a second too, y'all, we know there's a lot of people out there who are listening who aren't subscribed. We see the numbers.
Oh,
Please,
totally see those
if you
numbers.
would be so kind as to subscribe, that would help us tremendously with our numbers.
Yes,
So
and
thank
also
you so much.
engaging
We
help.
appreciate you. Sorry,
Yes.
and engaging.
And also if they engaging with the post help a lot.
That's true
with
too.
the algorithm.
Yeah, let us know you're out there. Let us know we're not talking into the void. And some of you do, and we appreciate you. And to that point, this week's recipe is vegan, gluten-free, natural sugar blueberry muffins, and that was a request from a follower. So thank you for that. We appreciate that. Yay!
They're so yummy. You're gonna love them.
I know. So excited. So anyway,
Okay.
thank you everybody. Have a wonderful week. We love you, and we'll see you next week here on LITNN Podcast.
Yay!
Bye,
Ciao.
Tina.
Bye, Ash.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao. I'm taking my clothes.
Gotta go. Join us here each week as we unpack life in the new normal with a new hashtag Subtle Change Profound Impact from Coach Dena. To get a little daily inspirational message in your social feed, follow us on YouTube Shorts, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Copyright 2020 Angel Baby Films, all rights reserved. For entertainment purposes only.